At ILM, we're bigger than a welcome home hug. We're stronger than the connections we make. We're your neighbor. We're your friend.
We are your school spirit.
We are your history.
We are your biggest fans.
And we all fly.
And we all fly.
ILM.
ILM.
We are comfort, convenience, and community pride. We are more than just an airport. We are your airport.
We are ILM.
We are ILM.
We are ILM.
She was once considered the world's greatest sea weapon, and went on to become one of the most highly decorated American battleships of World War II. Now moored in downtown Wilmington, she's one of the most highly decorated family attractions in North Carolina, serving a new generation as an exciting, hands-on historical adventure. Have a blast exploring the past aboard the Battleship North Carolina. Adventure calls.
Looking for action, excitement, and the only professional team in town? Don't miss out on the next Wilmington Hammerheads match. Show your support at their next game. Get your season tickets or single game tickets now at WilmingtonHammerheads.com.
Coming off a 2-1 result in the 2016 season opener, Wilmington Hammerheads FC 1-0-0 on Coming off a 2-1 result in the 2016 season opener, Wilmington Hammerheads FC 1-0-0 on the year, heading into their home opener against the Richmond Kickers. Good evening, everyone, live from Legion Stadium here in Wilmington, North Carolina. I'm Joe Katz alongside Zach Haynes, and Wilmington Hammerheads FC looking for a tough match tonight against the Richmond Kickers. And Zach, as we head into the 20th anniversary season of the Wilmington Hammerheads, just kind of a look back at a quick, retake of the last 2 decades of soccer here in Wilmington and how this organization has grown throughout the years.
Obviously, there's been some big changes in the offseason, and Coach Mark Briggs has come in, and he's someone that's very experienced, knows the organization very well. He was a player, a very good player here, and very beloved by the fans, and then came up as an assistant coach, player assistant, and now he takes the helm. And I think Mark has had the chance in the offseason to recruit an entirely new team, basically, and he's building that team in his image, and he's trying to create an identity that he feels will be successful, not only here in Wilmington, a product that the people here want to see, but hopefully a team that can go on to be successful in this league that he knows very well. Coach
Mark Briggs making his first home opening start here as the new head coach here at Wilmington Hammerheads FC. 7 returning players from last season's squad. That leaves 15 new additions to the club, and pick up a 2-1 result at Orlando City B last Saturday in the season opener. You couldn't have asked for a better start to the season, obviously, but a tall task today going up against an experienced Richmond club for years has been kind of a model of consistency here in the United Soccer League.
Absolutely. What they did in the first game was very, very impressive with a completely new team, basically, absent a few guys that returned to the roster. I think that Coach Briggs and the staff did a fantastic job of preparing them. You go through preseason and it's very difficult. You're assembling the team, you're trying to create some continuity, build relationships in the team, and find those combinations that you believe are going to be effective in the early part of the season. And they were able to do it on the road. Great win, and I'm sure they're going to be looking to use that start and that momentum to come to a very tough game today against Richmond, who, as we know, is a very, very good team in this league year to year. And they really only look to interchange a few pieces year to year. So they know what they're up against. They know what type of team and what type of identity Richmond has. And they're going to go look to get a result as they did on the road at Orlando.
It's the 2016 home opener here in Wilmington at North Carolina. The Hammerheads gearing up for kickoff against the Richmond Kickers. It's 2016 United Soccer League action here on YouTube. He's Zach Haynes. I'm Joe Katz. We'll be here with you through the duration of tonight's broadcast. We'll get to a quick break, our national anthem, the starting lineups in tonight's contest between Wilmington and Richmond when we get back after this.
At ILM, we're bigger than a welcome home hug. We're stronger than the connections we make. We're your neighbor. We're your friend.
We are your school spirit.
We are your history.
We are your biggest fans.
And we all fly
And we all fly
ILM.
ILM.
We are comfort, convenience, and community pride. We are more than just an airport. We are your airport.
We are ILM.
We are ILM.
We are ILM.
She was once considered the world's greatest sea weapon and went on to become one of the most highly decorated American battleships of World War II. Now moored in downtown Wilmington, she's one of the most highly decorated family attractions in North Carolina, serving a new generation as an exciting, hands-on historical adventure. Have a blast exploring the past aboard the battleship North Carolina. Adventure calls.
Looking for action, excitement, and the only professional team in town? Don't miss out on the next Wilmington Hammerheads match. Show your support at their next game. Get your season tickets or single game tickets now at WilmingtonHammerheads.com.
a great rendition of our nation's anthem to kick off the 20th season of Wilmington Hammerheads soccer here in the port city of Wilmington, North Carolina, inside historic Legion Stadium. Again, I'm Joe Katz alongside Zach Haynes, the associate head coach of the UNC Wilmington men's soccer team, as we are moments away from kickoff between Wilmington Hammerheads FC and the Richmond Kickers. Getting to our starting lineups tonight before the opening kick. First for the Richmond Kickers, led by their head coach Lee Calishaw. On the back line this evening, William Yambi wears number 2, number 8, Hugh Roberts, number 18, Alex Lee, and number 31, Braden Troyer. Navigating the midfield for Richmond tonight will be number 5, Michael Callahan, number 14, Udai Amura, number 15, Lucas Paulini, number 17, Jason Yaisley, and number 28, Samuel Ashanti. At forward position will be number 11, Luis Fernando, and the goalkeeper tonight for Richmond, number 1, Ryan Taylor. For Wilmington, wearing the captain sleeve this evening will be number 6, veteran midfielder Liam Miller. At the goalkeeper position, number 1, John Smits. In the backfield, number 2, Tom Parrott, number 4, Michael Meekum, number 23, Bruno Peroni, and number 25, Ferretti Sosa. Also in the midfield this evening will be number 8, Mael Corbaz, number 14, Logan Miller, number 10, Justin Moose, and number 19, Jeff Mishad. Our lone forward tonight will be number 11, Q Lawal. And Zach, as we sit here gearing up for opening kickoff, which is moments away, Wilmington will be moving right to left on your screen here in the first half of action. Richmond, obviously a quality side here, looking to spoil Wilmington's home opener tonight.
Richmond is a quality side, and they're a quality side year in and year out. They have a lot of consistency within the squad. They bring back same core of players pretty much year to year, with a few parts, few pieces added, few pieces depart. But you know what you're going to get from Richmond. They play a fairly direct style. They typically line up in a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-1-1 shape, and they know what they are. They have an identity, and they play very well to it.
Officials for tonight's game: head referee Neil Barbalescu, senior assistant referee Scott Bowers, assistant referee Eric Veroni, and the fourth official, Jordan Davis. 20th anniversary season underway here at historic Legion Stadium in Wilmington, North Carolina. Did not know if we were going to get into tonight's contest with some nasty weather here in the port city of Wilmington, North Carolina. Earlier today, the skies cleared midway through the afternoon. Could see some precipitation as we head through tonight's match. Well, it looks like a beautiful evening for soccer, a good crowd here at historic Legion Stadium. An early free kick opportunity for Wilmington. There's Mael Corbaz, some names that we'll be getting used to over the next couple of weeks to open the 2016 USL season for the Wilmington Hammerheads, including their new head coach, Mark Briggs.
A lot of new faces, a lot of change up in the offseason, and I think a lot of guys that we'll be excited to watch with the Wilmington Hammerheads as we move forward. Some instant impact players. Last week, Liam Miller, of course, the most heralded, coming in, former Manchester United player. He's been a journeyman. He's played all throughout the leagues in Europe and elsewhere, and he's going to be their captain and their talisman.
Two guys we can look out for this week that received accolades from the league following the opening weekend of action. Number 14 for Wilmington Hammerheads FC, Logan Miller, the center defensive mid. He scored the game-winning goal for Wilmington in their 2-1 result over Orlando City B last weekend. On the other side of the pitch, Udai Amura was also named the USL Team of the Week. He had a goal and an assist in the Kickers season opener, a 3-1 victory over Harrisburg City. The two early faces to look out for here in the early stages of tonight's match. It's 0-0 between the Richmond Kickers and Wilmington Hammerheads FC.
It was a fantastic moment for Logan Miller. He's a rookie from Arkansas State, and he came up with the game winner, and it was a wonderful strike from distance. And what a big result on the road for Wilmington Hammerheads to get their season started off in a big way.
Zach, you talked about some of the new faces here on the club this season and the recruiting efforts that Briggsy and the staff here that Wilmington Hammerheads FC had to go through over the last couple of months to piece together this squad. What are the challenges that a team faces when you have just 7 returning players, a lot of new faces? You obviously want to put on a good show for this home crowd, particularly this being the 20th season of Wilmington Hammerhead soccer here in the Port City.
It's a really difficult job for Coach Briggs and his staff because they basically have a month together in preseason, and they're training and they're playing games, and they're using a lot of that time to try to evaluate their squad and just get a sense of who their strongest players are and potentially their strongest lineup and the combinations and relationships they want to develop. But also, they're looking who's going to be their depth, who's going to be a player that they can rely on coming in, and maybe narrow it down to 14 or 15 that they feel coming into the first couple games of the season that they can rely upon. But it's a really difficult task when you're talking about so many new faces and that evaluation process for so many players, and not having that core such as a Richmond where you know exactly what you're going to get coming back the next year, and you really only need to evaluate a handful of guys to see if they can fit in.
One of those new faces wears number 23, the left center back, Bruno Peroni, the big left foot, as these two teams have been basically trading possession here, trying to feel each other out over the first couple of minutes of action in tonight's match.
It looks like Richmond is going to stick to their pretty standard 4-2-3-1, 4-4-1-1 shape, and it looks like the Wilmington Hammerheads have made a slight adjustment to last week where they lined up in more of a 4-2-3-1 with Mael Corbaz playing next to Logan Miller and Liam Miller ahead of them. And tonight it looks like it's going to be more of a 4-1-4-1 shape or a 4-3-3 shape so that they can match up a little bit tighter in the midfield, and those average starting positions of the Wilmington Hammerheads are going to be able to close down number 15 and number 5, Mike Callahan, of the Richmond Kickers, who so much of their team's efforts go through those two guys in the midfield.
It's Ferretti Sosa with the possession as the Wilmington Hammerheads are able to string a few passes together now, looking to gain their form here in the first 5 minutes. Michael Meekum, a familiar name to you, Zach, spent the last few seasons, 4 years, playing his college soccer right here in Wilmington for UNCW.
Yes, Michael's someone we're very proud of, and for him to make his professional debut last week at Orlando City, coming off the bench, then tonight making his first professional start as a rookie, right center back in a big home game, the home opener. We're extremely proud of him, but he's earned this opportunity. He worked extremely hard for 4 years. He was a wonderful servant to the UNCW program, and I can't say enough about the kid. He's one of the best players I'll ever coach on and off the field. There's no question about that.
To piggyback off that just briefly, we have several former UNC Wilmington products competing this season in the United Soccer League, including a goalkeeper who posted a clean sheet in his first debut for Vancouver Whitecaps 2 this past weekend.
That's right. Sean Melvin was a player that for the last 3 seasons did very well at UNCW. He's a Vancouver Whitecaps product, academy product. He was also in with the Canadian national teams, U20s, and the full Canadian national team for a camp and a couple exhibition games. And he had the opportunity to move on and sign a contract with Vancouver Whitecaps too, and earned the start in his very first game and posted a shutout. So we're extremely proud of him and his efforts, and hopefully he can keep it going.
We can continue to go down the list. Jacob Van Compernal being another one of those, getting ready for his second season, in addition to one of your program's all-time leading goalkeepers who's on the roster for FC Dallas, Colin Bonner, a draft pick in the Super Draft this past earlier this spring, I guess you can say.
Colin was a fantastic player for us, a center forward. Wonderful kid, just like Michael, one of our captains, and had an excellent career, and was drafted by FC Dallas and was signed to their first team, and he made it into the 18 this past week in DC United in front of a lot of his family and friends. So we're thrilled for him. We know he'll keep working hard and hopefully make a fantastic career out of it at FC Dallas.
Zach, you mentioned just a few minutes ago Coach Briggs has kind of readjusted his formation heading into tonight's match. How does that kind of all play out when, as you're trying to piece together, as you said, this team with the communication between new players, returning players, veterans out there?
I think for Coach Briggs, what you want to decide on first in preseason, once you've got a good handle of your group and the talents that you have and the strengths that you have, you develop a system that you feel like can bring out the strengths of as many players, if not all the players in your lineup, and you go from there. And then there's little tweaks that you make along the way to perhaps take into account some of the strengths of the other team.
John Smits on his toes in the 7th minute for Wilmington Hammerheads FC, looking to settle down his group here, where Richmond has controlled some of the possession on Wilmington's side of the pitch for the last 2 or 3 minutes or so, as Wilmington looks to regain control here and some composure in the first 10 minutes in front of their home crowd.
It was clear in the first game, Joe, that Coach Mark Briggs wants his team to play on the front foot. He wants to get out and press and try to win the ball back in the attacking half. They set up in more of a medium block on the road against Orlando City, and they put a lot of pressure as soon as the ball was played into midfield. It looks like they have a similar setup tonight, and I feel he's probably starting to nail down an identity for his team and a way they want to set up in terms of how they press, when they press, their team shape, where they engage in their line of confrontation up the field. And it looks like it's pretty consistent tonight. The only tweak they've made is just that midfield shape of the three of Logan Miller, Mile Corbaz, and Liam Miller. And instead of having Liam Miller as the top of the triangle, if you will, they have more of an inverted triangle where Logan Miller is the lone holding mid. And again, that's more so to match up with the strengths of Richmond, where number 14, Ura, is a fantastic player for Richmond. Obviously, as you mentioned, team of the week. So they want someone next to him at all times. And then if they can stop Callahan and Polini from getting on the ball and dictating the tempo, they should have two players in Liam Miller and Mile Corbaz who are a little bit closer on average to do that.
It is Liam Miller. We'll play back to a veteran for you Wilmington Hammerheads fans, and Tom Parrott back for another season under Coach Briggs. As we see Udai Amora go down and a foul called on Wilmington Hammerheads FC. Looks like it'll be Michael Callahan with the right-footed boot. Smits with the grab at the highest point, taking control inside the 18-yard box for the Hammerheads. 10 minutes gone by here in the 2016 home opener. We're in a scoreless match between Wilmington and Richmond.
It's good to see Michael Callahan out there. He's a former teammate of mine at UNC Chapel Hill, and he was named player assistant coach for the Richmond Kickers this year. And I know coaching is part of his plans for the future, and this gives him an opportunity, best of both worlds, at a great organization like the Richmond Kickers. So extremely thrilled to see him out there still playing, but also getting his coaching career underway, and I know he's going to make a great one.
Logan Miller stepping in front for Wilmington. Possession back to Richmond. Callahan with the right foot. Once again looking for Imora. Haroni will play back for the Hammerheads with a full head of steam for Wilmington. On the far side of the pitch, Michael Meekum at midfield. The right foot looking for Q Lawal. He goes down, no whistle. Q brought on to the squad last year for Wilmington towards the midway part of the season. Provides lots of attacking ability for the Hammerheads, looking to finish some of those chances heading into this 2016 slate for the Hammerheads.
Q's a really exciting player. He's a young player, so he's still learning his trade as a center forward, but he has all the ability in the world to be able to lead the line at this level in a big way, and he has all the physical attributes you want in a center forward. He has pace, he has strength, and his finishing ability is something I know he's continuing to clean up, but he is someone that can score goals, and all in all, throughout any game against any opposition, he's going to be a handful. And I thought against Orlando City in the first game, he led the line extremely well. Did not score, but was fantastic in terms of his hold-up play and running the channels and just being the focal point of the attack for the Wilmington Hammerheads.
Week 2 of the 2016 USL season is underway. Had a couple of midweek games in the books. 12 contests going on tonight through Sunday across the nation. Cue the wall on the left edge of the penalty area. Looking to dribble in between a couple of defenders. I mean, it looks like we have a offside flag on the far end of the pitch. Talk about the growth of the United Soccer League here over the last couple of years. You see more and more MLS teams adding affiliates underneath their umbrella. Orlando City B being one of those teams new to the league this year. Wilmington Hammerheads FC, of course, the New York City FC affiliate. They've been able to create a nice little dynamic with Hammerheads owner George Altiers. Tab Ramos getting into some of the decision making, of course, with NYCFC. Also, their affiliate with Cedar Stars Soccer Academy in New Jersey.
It's an exciting time for the league, Joe. They really have expanded and up to 30 teams now, and almost every MLS team now has their own B team or 2 team, whatever you want to call it. But the fact of the matter is the pathway to the highest level is becoming more and more accessible, and it puts programs on the same grounds and under the same umbrella, and the coaching staff being able to constantly evaluate players that are deserving of those call-ups. And I think you're going to see the USL League continue to grow and prosper. There's no question.
And we saw one of our own goalkeeper from last season, Andre Rawls, get a call-up from NYCFC after a standout season for Wilmington Hammerheads FC. He joined the A team through training throughout the end of 2015 and into the front end of 2016.
Andre's a great example, and there's been many others that have come through the Wilmington Hammerheads organization. One that stands out at the moment is Daniel Steris, played center back here and also played some holding mid a couple years ago, and he's now starting at center back for the LA Galaxy, one of the most successful MLS programs there. So it certainly is a proving ground, and I think you're seeing more and more players come in at a young age, or perhaps they were at the MLS and they didn't find a way to break through into the club that drafted them or that they had an opportunity with straight away. Came down to the USL, proved themselves, played well, performed, and then they find themselves in good situations on an MLS deal and playing at the highest level in the United States.
William Yambi, left center back, will play back to goalkeeper Ryan Taylor. As Taylor urges his players to get towards midfield. Looking for the 50-50 ball as Udai Imora. Wilmington will take over possession, moving quickly up the field. Ferretti Sosa. Luis Fernando plays ahead. Good defensive effort there by Mael Corbos. Oh, it's Liam Miller.
You can see straight away as soon as the Richmond kickers, as soon as they give up possession or Wilmington Hammerheads break a line of pressure, they do so well to drop in and find that bank of 4, and then the 2 in front with Callahan, Paulini, and the shape's good, the compactness is good, and they force you to go around them as opposed to through them. They aren't going to let you break on them quickly. They're very good at stopping the counter, very disciplined.
Talked about Coach Briggs being the new head coach here, of course, at Wilmington. Also a new assistant, or not really a new assistant, but getting the official title from one of your counterparts for a long time with Matt Glazer as an assistant for UNCW, now here at Wilmington Hammerheads organization as well.
Yeah, Matt's been with the UNCW women's program and obviously has been with the Wilmington Hammerheads organization as a player, and now he's stepped up into that assistant role and works primarily with the goalkeepers. And Matt's a great guy. I know he's someone that Coach Mark Briggs trusts extremely well. And then also Troy Cole joins the staff and works on the sports science side. And I think those two guys, players for the Wilmington Hammerheads organization, people that Mark Briggs knows, trusts, and they have a very good understanding of what it takes to be successful here at this club, but also in the USL in general.
Seems here as we approach the 20th minute, you talked just a few seconds ago about Richmond and the camaraderie that they bring to the pitch each time out. Wilmington still trying to find that little niche here in the first 20 minutes to provide them a little spark, as we see on the far flank on the right edge, but well defended there by Braden Troyer for the Kickers. It's Logan Miller, the full head of steam for Wilmington as it plays back to Sousa. Overcast skies continue to roll in, some clouds here in Wilmington. I know for many soccer fans across the nation, you think of Wilmington, you might not know where the heck it's located here geographically. Look at the state of North Carolina, look at the southeast corner. About a 90-minute drive north of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. That's where you find Wilmington, on the banks of the Cape Fear River, sandwiched in between the Cape Fear and the Atlantic Ocean. We talked a little bit about that rain today and how that may have chased away some fans, but as we approached opening kick, got through the anthem and the starting lineups, now the first 5 or so minutes of the match, and the stadium is definitely filled up. They always have been saying this over the last 2 seasons, having the opportunity to broadcast Wilmington Hammerheads FC soccer here on YouTube. But the way our camera angles are set up and the way the press box is aligned doesn't do it justice when you are watching the match to see the far end of the stands. A little crowded today, but here on the near side, the stands are probably 2/3 bigger than what you see on the monitor, and it is fully packed here on the near side as we are atop the near side of the pitch in the press box. A little steamy in here tonight for a April 1st contest.
The players won't mind the conditions, Joe. It's nice and cool, and with a little bit of rain throughout the day, it's going to make for a really nice pitch in terms of moving the ball quick and at a high tempo, and it'll be difficult to play balls in behind. They're going to skip off the surface, and in terms of getting on the end and making that connection, that's always difficult, but playing through midfield and trying to play at a high tempo and combine, it'll definitely speed up the pace of play and the tempo, so I know the players will enjoy that.
Good ball sent in there by Jeff Michaud, another one of those newcomers to Wilmington this season. Off the header from Logan Miller over the crossbar. Cue the wall with the touch, looking for Miller. Misplayed for a moment, and it looks like Wilmington will have their first corner kick in the match's first corner kick of the night. It's the 21st minute of action here in the first half.
I like what we're seeing out of Logan Miller. He's been deployed as that defensive center mid, but they're sending him forward on making some attacking runs, some penetrating runs, and Liam Miller's dropping into his spot, and it's causing some issues for the Richmond Kickers in terms of picking up that run coming out of midfield.
Corbos with the right foot towards the center of the box, turned away by Richmond. Sosa will play here to the near side. Liam Miller. A lot of international flavor on both sides of the pitch tonight. Shot sent in and deflected. Played ahead, it's Samuel Ashanti. Asante looking for Imora. Udai Imora had trouble playing it in off the first touch.
That was fantastic work. Sorry, Joe. That was fantastic work by Justin Moose to come back and prevent the counter. He caught up to Asante, made him turn out. They were able to keep the back three in terms of Tom Parrott, Bruno Peroni, and Michael Meekum as Faraday had gotten forward, and really effective in stopping the counter. We need that kind of work rate tonight from our midfielders. It's going to be difficult. It's a very good team on the counter in Richmond Kickers, and Justin Moose, fantastic effort after he had just been involved in the attacking move just before.
Paulini keeping it alive for Richmond. Santi for the Kickers will play back. Michael Callahan, Hugh Roberts. Richmond not a team that will play too panicked here, very methodical in what they're doing, and a nice move there from Alex Lee. He's going to center to Imora with probably the best looking opportunity thus far as he sends it wide left of the frame.
It was good patient build up by the Richmond Kickers. We noted how effective they are on the counter, playing through their front two, the Isley and Imura. And they are very direct at times because they do have height and physical prowess up front. But they've shown in a few moments and a few build-ups so far that with Paulini and Callahan dropping in deep and coming in between the center backs and pushing on those fullbacks, it's really stretching the Hammerheads and pushing them back. And there they showed a lot of good patience and some good combination play to create a good opportunity.
Off the head of Meekum. Back to Logan Miller. On the near side to Faraday Sosa. Richmond quick to counter. Cue the wall. We'll have a talking to.
The challenge here tonight for the Wilmington Hammerheads with Richmond Kickers with Yambi, Hugh Roberts in the back, two very strong, physical, athletic center backs. They'll be able to deal with Q in terms of his own physical prowess and his athleticism. But can we, as the Wilmington Hammerheads look to attack, can they get players from midfield to support so Q doesn't become isolated? It's going to be the trick for tonight. You have three in Logan Miller, Liam Miller, Mile Corbaz. You have three true center mids in there. Can they get runs from midfield like we saw with Logan Miller making a couple penetrating runs? Can Justin Moose and Jeff Mashad, can they tuck in and connect and combine with Q? If it's isolation up there and expecting him to run the channels and play 1 versus 2 against their Richmond Kickers strong center backs, it will be a difficult night in terms of forming any kind of quality attacks.
Michael Callahan. A few combination passes. But Wilmington quick on the attack. Cue the wall, looking to sneak it through to Justin Moose. Turned away by Richmond. Miller. Mishad, now back to Miller. Looking for Sosa. It's turned away. Hammerheads throw in here on the near side at midfield. The wall looking to gain position. Peroni getting tied up there, and he's issued the first caution of the night. Bruno Peroni setting a tone physically with Udai Imora, who goes down now, or not Imora, excuse me. It's tangled up there at midfield, and an obvious caution to Peroni, but Wilmington trying to make a statement here.
Yeah, Isley's a very strong center forward. He uses his body well. He backs into Peroni there. He gets position. He does well to hold him off as the ball is played up to him. And Bruno just a little bit over aggressive there in terms of trying to get around him and make a challenge. Sometimes when the center forward gets position on you, you need to get into his back and make sure that that first touch is difficult and he can't bring under control and link the play comfortably. But if you get a little bit too over aggressive, you can either get rolled or, in that case, pick up a foul and possibly even a yellow card, I'm guessing, for the hands to the face.
Peroni issued the yellow card, 27th minute of action. Still no score. Jane Wilmington Hammerheads FC, Richmond Kickers in town. Both teams earned results in their season opener. 1 week ago was a 3-1 victory for Richmond over Harrisburg City. Wilmington Hammerheads with a 2-1 win down in the Sunshine State against Orlando City B in their league debut. Off the head of Peroni. Miller now played back to Tom Parrott. Looking for Q Lawal. He's able to get a right foot on it. Can't corral it in. And for Alex Lee. Lee with the right foot off the head of Sousa. We'll have a free kick. Lee looking to send one in towards the top of the 18. So slow it down. Nice patient play here from Richmond. It's the right-footed bender. Not the touch that he wanted there. Another one of those things that you have to get used to. Must be tough, particularly for an opposing team that comes here to Legion. Obviously the synthetic turf, the way the ball bounces here on the surface, a little different than the natural grass.
Yeah, it's a big transition for any team, and it's a difficult surface to play on. It's sometimes unpredictable, sometimes slick if there has been some rain. It's an advantage for the Wilmington Hammerheads where teams do come here that are used to playing on grass. The Hammerheads are used to the pace of it and used to the way the ball bounces much more so than teams that don't have the experience or don't have the ability to train or play games on the artificial turf.
On the other side of that, for Wilmington, entered into a new partnership with one of our local high schools, Coastal Christian High School, earlier, or last month, I guess you can say, now that we are in the 1st of April. Coastal Christian as one of the most natural, I guess, and better playing surfaces around in this area, and entering into that partnership will allow Wilmington to train leading up into road matches where they will play on that natural grass, and in turn Coastal Christian will receive some top-level instruction, their coaches and players, from the Hammerhead side. A lot of energy being exuded out there by Logan Miller.
He's been excellent so far. His energy, his pressing, he's stepping out of that defensive center mid position, and he's closing the opposition center mids down. He's made runs forward.
Corbo's looking for Moose. Just outside the outstretched leg of Justin Moose. Another one of those gritty veterans that we see out here.
And that's better from Moose, and we need to see that from Mashad's side as well. When Q checks in, he creates space in beyond the center backs, there needs to be an attacking run. And with 3 true center mids, guys that like to get on the ball and are more deep-lying playmaker types, there's going to need to be those attacking runs coming from the wide areas. And Justin Moose made a great diagonal run there and nearly got on the end of it.
Peroni with the touch to Sousa, back to Bruno Peroni. Smits with the right foot. 50-50 ball up in the air. Off the head of Hugh Roberts for Richmond, but it's Lawal. Q Lawal will take over with some space moving forward. Dribbling into a couple of defenders. Plays out to Corbos. Oh, nearly had Moose there again off the pass from Liam Miller.
Great move in transition by the Wilmington Hammerheads. Corbos makes a step, obtains possession. A few quick connected passes, finds Liam Miller top of the box, and a really good look, and another diagonal run in from Justin Moose, and the ball just ran out on him a little bit. But the ideas are starting to pick up for the Wilmington Hammerheads. Starting to look to play in behind this tough back four of Richmond kickers. Very well disciplined, very well organized, and they're starting to look dangerous.
On the far side, it's Moose. Now to Tom Parrott. Some contact there. Play continues. Meekum with the header. Michael Callahan will play back and calm things down for Richmond here in the 33rd minute of action. Logan Miller playing ahead to Mishad. Mishad entering the left edge of the penalty area. And we will have a corner kick. Mishad applying the pressure. And he will hold for the corner. It will be Corbo's. Well, Corbaz, excuse me. See, trying to get familiar with these new names here. Get my pronunciation guide correct. It's Corbaz with the right foot. He sends it into the middle off the couple of players. Couldn't see how that ball was deflected. Looks like it hit the keeper there, and Ryan Taylor. .34 minutes into the first half. No score. Zach Haynes, Joe Katz here. Ball sent in. Looks like it found the head of Q Lawal as the pent-up attack continues here for Wilmington over the last few minutes of action, as the Hammerheads seem to feel a bit more comfortable now in front of their home crowd for the first time here in 2016.
Yeah, they've settled in well and done a nice job of pressing the opposition's midfield and picking up some interceptions around the midfield line. They've done well in transition. They've created some good opportunities in transition and earned a couple set pieces and restarts. And Mile Corbaz is a player, Maryland product, homegrown signing for the New York Red Bull, released before the season. But he's a player that's known for his set piece delivery. That was his meal ticket in college, and restart deliveries, corner kick delivery, free kicks. Very, very good shape on the ball. Whips it in at pace with the right foot. So he's someone that's always going to be a threat for the Wilmington Hammerheads, and they're going to want to earn as many set pieces as possible to put him on the ball.
It's Sousa with some space, looking for the wall. Pass from Corbaz finds a Richmond player, and Corbaz whistled for the foul. Heading through this 20th season, anniversary season for Wilmington Hammerheads FC. I know the organization has a number of things planned over the course of this long season. This play continues here. It's Luis Fernando who puts one off the left iron. Without a doubt, the best scoring chance of tonight had Smits pulled away from the end line and sent one in as the ball banged off the left post. We remain scoreless here in the 36th minute of play.
Verity got caught a little bit too tight. He's slightly switched off watching the ball, and it was a hopeful ball forward and just a little bit too tight to his marker, the right winger there, and he was able to get position on him and get his body in first. And no Verity wanted the foul there, but referee deemed it shoulder to shoulder, and he was able to get position and cut back and get the shot off, and it was a really good effort.
Hey, look at that speed from Q Lawal. Will now take it in. And we'll use the left foot, sneak a low pass in there. Nobody home for Wilmington. Great effort there by Q Lawal. Good recovery for Jeff Michaud. One thing we could say there, Zach, that we saw maybe last year with Q and the struggles Wilmington had finding the back of the net. Q tried to really take some things on his own there, and it's Miller, the top of the 18, had a chance maybe to let one go. Instead, Richmond closed in on him and was able to turn it away. But going back to Q, last year I thought he had a lot of pressure on himself, and from the club, from the fans, from everyone, he was brought in here to score goals, and at times I thought there were spaces where he could find his teammates, set up some players for potential goal-scoring chances like he did right there. So it's good to see him play some non-selfish soccer on that end of the field and try to send one in and get his teammate a goal.
As we said earlier, he's a young player. He's still learning his trade, and he's going to make mistakes. But he's obviously a talented kid, you can tell. And he has that spark, he has that creativity, he can change a game. So Coach Briggs and the staff, they want to find a balance of giving him the freedom to try things in the final third. But as you said, Joe, there are times where he's going to need to get his teammates involved, because as the lone forward, it's going to be difficult for him in many situations. He's going to be 1 versus 2. So he's going to have to pick the right moments of when to link the play, when to keep it simple, and then when to try things as he did there, facing up the right back Lee and going at him and doing very well to get across. And it was a fantastic effort. He cut it back well, found the right space, but unfortunately none of the Hammerheads players were able to hold that run, that trailing run, to around the penalty spot.
Last 15 minutes or so, play has remained on the Richmond side of the pitch. Something we'd like to see here for the Wilmington fans watching here on YouTube, also in attendance here at Legion Stadium. Lee and Miller getting tied up there. Miller, I think he nearly won that 50, but play back to Wilmington. It's Freddie Sosa. Tough pass there from Logan Miller, turned it over. William Yambi try to settle things down. Asante across midfield. The closing speed here by the Wilmington midfield has been pretty solid so far, as they've been quick in the transition, trying to, Richmond obviously quick to the counter, and Wilmington has been up to task thus far.
Yeah, both teams have done a nice job in terms of closing down in the midfield, and I think the energy has been very good with both teams. They've tackled well, they've been physical. Both have been up to the challenge and taken their defensive duties very seriously. Hasn't been a great deal of possession in the game. Richmond had one very, very nice build-up, one sequence where it resulted in a Murrow with the shot that went wide off from his left foot cutting in. Most of the moments for the Wilmington Hammerheads, their best moments in the attack, have come off of transition, quick counters, off of turnovers from Richmond kickers in the midfield. So it's going to be, I think, with the two teams, who makes the mistake first, who has that turnover in the wrong area, and which team can capitalize on a quick transition or a counterattack goal.
Zach, as we approach this first whistle here, heading into the half, early season, we talk about the training and the workouts that both of these clubs have gone through, gearing up for the, first time, and now moving into the second half. How do, legs play into this early season contest? Do Do you see these players exhausted? Do you give some of these guys rest? Do you extend them here early in the in the early going of a year? It's a long season. How does that all kind of pan out when it comes to training for these guys?
I think going into the game, both coaching staffs will have an idea of maybe 2 or 3 subs that they want to be involved in. They may have some changes that they feel can bring something to the game, depending on the situation. Do they need to close out the game defensively, sound, solid, they have a lead? Do they need to grab a goal? They'll have a few players in mind that they feel like for certain situations can potentially change the game. But I would say here, Joe, the game fitness won't be there completely. These teams have played a handful of preseason games. They both have one regular season game under their belt. So only one game that's truly playing at the pace that they'll be expected to play at throughout this entire season. So although the legs are fresh and for the most part these guys will be healthy at this stage in the season, they are still building up that game fitness. So I think at about the 70 to 75th minute is when you start to see, some guys that maybe will be a bit winded or the legs might start to go. And so that's when you could see some changes. With Coach Briggs last week versus Orlando City, did a very good job of going to his bench for 4 or 5 players that came on and did a job for him and helped him close out the game. And I think that's key right now is keeping guys involved and giving them confidence by putting them on the field and trusting them to do a job for your team.
You talk about Coach Briggs in his first season, of course, and obviously there is definitely probably a learning curve that you have to go through when you go from player to coach. How do you think Briggsy's making out so far? I know, we have no real test as far as, or no real showing as far as results or as far as, what the record stands, but how's you talk to him? You're a companion of his. How's he settled into this new position as the head of the franchise?
I think he's enjoying it, and from talking to the players, several of them that I'm close with, they think the atmosphere and the environment is very good right now. There's a good spirit amongst the group. The team are bought in. They believe in Briggsy as a coach. They obviously have a huge amount of respect for him for what he's done as a player, so there's some instant credibility there. But there is a huge transition from being a player and a very good player to that of a coach. It doesn't always translate. So I think they're seeing right away that he does have the ability to not only run a good session but manage the team and manage personalities. And it sounds to me like everybody's on board, and I think you could see that in the first game of the year. The work rate that they put in to find a result on the road against Orlando City, who featured several top draft picks brought down from the MLS team, the Orlando City first team, to go out and get a result in those conditions, factoring in so much of what you've said, Joe, with a new team and trying to find that continuity. I think you got to say he's had a fantastic start to his managerial career, and as long as the players keep working for him and believing in him and he believes in them, I think it's going to be a very good match.
Just 1 minute of extra time as our fourth official, Jordan Davis, signals on the far side of the pitch. This play has been continuous here through this first half. No real whistles with the exception of 2 brief caution cards issued, one to Bruno Peroni, and we just saw the other one who I did not catch the eye on. It was issued to Richmond, of course.
Looked like Jason Yaisley, the center forward for Richmond.
So Yaisley and Peroni in the book as we approach halftime here at historic Legion Stadium, and that will do it for the first half. No score between Wilmington Hammerheads FC, Richmond Kickers. Knotted scoreless heading in for the final 45 minutes of action in Wilmington, North Carolina. I'm Joe Catt, Zach Haynes here in the booth. We'll take a quick timeout, get to some halftime festivities, which hopefully you're watching here on YouTube. We'll get to some first half highlights potentially, all potentially settling in here in our season opening broadcast in Wilmington, and some first half thoughts before we get to the final 45 minutes of action here at Legion. No score, and we'll be right back.
At ILM, we're bigger than a welcome home hug. We're stronger than the connections we make. We're your neighbor. We're your friend.
We are your school spirit.
We are your history.
We are your biggest fans.
And we all fly
And we all fly
ILM.
ILM.
We are comfort, convenience, and community pride. We are more than just an airport. We are your airport.
We are ILM.
We are ILM.
We are ILM.
She was once considered the world's greatest sea weapon and went on to become one of the most highly decorated American battleships of World War II. Now moored in downtown Wilmington, she's one of the most highly decorated family attractions in North Carolina, serving a new generation as an exciting, hands-on historical adventure. Have a blast exploring the past aboard the Battleship North Carolina. Adventure calls.
Looking for action, excitement, and the only professional team in town? Don't miss out on the next Wilmington Hammerheads match. Show your support at their next game. Get your season tickets or single game tickets now at WilmingtonHammerheads.com.
At ILM, we're bigger than a welcome home hug. We're stronger than the connections we make. We're your neighbor. We're your friend.
We are your school spirit.
We are your history.
We are your biggest fans.
And we all fly
And we all fly
ILM.
ILM.
We are comfort, convenience, and community pride. We are more than just an airport. We are your airport.
We are ILM.
We are ILM.
We are ILM.
She was once considered the world's greatest sea weapon and went on to become one of the most highly decorated American battleships of World War II. Now moored in downtown Wilmington, she's one of the most highly decorated family attractions in North Carolina, serving a new generation as an exciting, hands-on historical adventure. Have a blast exploring the past aboard the Battleship North Carolina. Adventure calls.
Looking for action, excitement, and the only professional team in town? Don't miss out on the next Wilmington Hammerheads match. Show your support at their next game. Get your season tickets or single game tickets now at WilmingtonHammerheads.com.
Back here at Legion Stadium in Wilmington, North Carolina, moments away from the start of the second half as we take a look at some of our highlights from the first 45 minutes of action. Joe Katz alongside Zach Haynes. No score between Wilmington and Richmond, and Zach, it's been a pretty even contest thus far between these two, I want to say, veteran clubs. Richmond definitely touts the experience from a camaraderie standpoint. A lot of years of soccer for Wilmington, obviously, in their roster, up and down this starting 11. But for the most part, both teams have played pretty evenly here. And as we start to look ahead to the second half of action, which is already underway, how do you think things panned out through the first 45?
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Joe. I think it was a pretty evenly matched game, and both teams had their moments, and Richmond kickers hit the post at one point and had a couple good opportunities in and around the 18, and so did the Hammerheads. Got to the end line a couple times, earned quite a few restarts and corners, and so I think both teams have had good moments. Both teams have played well on the counter at times. Richmond's probably done a little bit better job in terms of some of their build-up play and creating sequences off of that. But overall, both teams into it, playing with a lot of energy. It's been fairly physical, quite a few fouls, and I would say both clubs look up for it tonight.
The referee today was quick with the whistle to get things started, as we had about 38 seconds left on the scoreboard clock until we got started here in the second half. He blew the whistle. We got underway. So now the clock is not going to match up with the time on the pitch. So that really creates a challenge for us here in the booth to tell you exactly the timing of the contest here in this second half of action. So Zach, I'm going to put it on you, since you're wearing the watch, to give us 45 minutes or at least a ballpark estimate of what we can expect as we head into the latter stages of today's contest. And joining us here in the booth now is Chris Liebert, another one of our broadcast counterparts this season here on YouTube for these home broadcasts of Wilmington Hammerheads FC. I know, Chris, both of you guys now are big honchos at your respective college campuses. You've got Zach, who was promoted to the associate head coaching position at UNC Wilmington. Liebert, Coach Chris Liebert, now not officially a coach anymore. He's the, what is your official title? Associate Athletic Director at Cape Fear Community College, moving into the administration role here for this 2016 year, as Wilmington tries to set something up there with Sousa to cue the wall, and is quickly defended by Richmond.
Joe, I just got back from the locker room and talking with Coach Briggs coming out. He's excited for the night. Basically said that they respected him too much in the first 20 minutes of the game, and and that basically he could still get out there if they were giving him that much room. So they're going to put a little bit more pressure on him. He was certainly happy with the latter part of that first half. The firm's right behind him. The atmosphere is great, and he's just trying to pick up 3 more points on this early season.
You know, Zach and I have talked about it here a lot in this first half of action, and Chris is, you know, we talk about this first season under Coach Briggs and what he brings to the table, the experience he has not only as a soccer player but also here in Wilmington. How important is that to have a kind of, I don't want to say a homegrown guy, but a guy who's spent a lot of time here in the city of Wilmington over the years? He has the, you know, the temperature of this organization. He has the temperature of the community. How has Briggsy kind of fit into or settled into his role here? I know we're only 1 game into the season, but training obviously has been going on for quite some time now.
Well, you talk to these players, and you can see the excitement coming out. He actually stopped our interview right in the middle of our talk and turned around and made sure that he shook every player's hand coming out of the locker room. So I grabbed a few of the players. They're excited. They're excited to be home at Legion Stadium. We talked about it last year that this is a place typically over the 20 years that, or the 15 or so that they've been playing here, that this is a place to win. And that just wasn't an additive last year that this team had. And they feel that it's back this year. But really just the excitement in the locker room. And he's a player's coach. You know, he's been at the highest level of soccer, and just being able to relate to these players, it shows. Those guys coming out of the locker room shaking his hand, they're excited to get back on the pitch, and they're fighting for this guy.
Before we let you go, you've been on the field for pretty much the entire first half of action. We sat through a ton of matches last year for Wilmington, and you know, not a lot of success when it came to finding the back of the net. Just camaraderie as a whole, from the back line all the way to the front. How has this team fared here through 1 match plus another 45 minutes through this 2016 slate?
Well, I think just from top to bottom you can feel a big difference, and you know, time will tell, and it's way early in the season. There'll be some influx of players all up and down for all the teams, but again, we talked about it last year. I think that there is a newness, and it's back to hopefully the winning ways at the home stadium. Also had a time to talk with Coach Heaney from UNC Wilmington. You know, Zach, who's with us tonight, the main head coach, and he was excited to be a part of it. I'll sit here and break here as we have some action, Joe.
Yeah, on the move all the way from midfield. It was a long run on the far flank by Jeff Michaud, one of those newcomers to the team. Just 7 returning players on the roster from last season. And as we move through this first contest, I know we'll see you again come Sunday, April 17th. It'll be the matchup against FC Montreal, a 3 o'clock kickoff here at Legion Stadium on Sunday, April 17th.
Yeah, there's just a lot going on in soccer, and as Coach Heaney came off the field, he's got a big match, and I don't know if Zach has mentioned that tonight, but it's to add to the excitement of what you see on the far side, 1 club, 1 community, and that's Harry's game. That's Zach can talk a little bit more, but Coach Heaney wanted me to mention that Harry's game for Down syndrome. It's a 6 o'clock game on April 16th, which is a Saturday, and the UNCW, the Division I school here, basically in the shadow of UNC of W is this stadium, but they play Duke. So that's just, again, some more excitement. But I'm going to get back down on the sideline, let you 2 gentlemen go. Good to see everybody, and certainly see the Hammers back to some ways here.
Yes, sir. We will talk to you. Chris Liebert, a part of our broadcast crew heading through this 2016 season. He'll be joining us again on April 17th for the Sunday broadcast as Wilmington Hammerheads FC will take on FC Montreal in a 3 o'clock kickoff on YouTube as we stream all United Soccer League games on YouTube. And hopefully everything is panned out on the production side of things, Zach, as we have entertained an interesting first half of action. And now your play has kind of opened up through the first 6 or 7 minutes of the second half.
Yeah, it looks like no big changes in terms of the way the teams are setting up tactically. Looks like the midfield setup similar. Looks like maybe 2 players pushing on more so than just 1 for the Richmond Kickers, and they're putting 4 across the front line and really looking to stretch Wilmington back and and try to open them up and create gaps in between the lines, in between the back four and the midfield three of Wilmington. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. Thought it was a little bit cagey at times, especially as Liebert mentioned with Coach Briggs saying they felt like they gave him a little bit too much respect in the first half and maybe absorbed a little bit more pressure than he would like. And I think you can tell that they've come out on the front foot, and it's causing more turnovers, but it should make for a little bit more of a stretch and exciting game.
It's Tom Parrott coming pretty far forward there from the back line to try to assist in that attack that Zach was just mentioning. As Imora will play back to his goalkeeper, Ryan Taylor. Taylor not tested too much today for Richmond, as the goal scoring opportunities have been few and far between. I would say the kickers probably have got the better of those. One shot rang off the iron late in that first half from Luis Fernando, along with Udai Imora, one of the reigning USL Team of the Week nominations, I guess you can say, along with another one of our Wilmington Hammerheads, and Logan Miller, who notched the game winner for Wilmington 1 week ago. That ball played forward. Nice move there. It's going to be Justin Moose. Good job on the defense by Richmond. Close that gap on Moose. As we thought for a moment there, he may have had a step or two on that defender, but that gap closed quickly thanks to the strong play of number 31, Braden Troyer. Liebert mentioned it just before. Zach, we talked about UNCW men's soccer coach Aiden Haney, your boss, I guess you can say. And Coach Haney has obviously put UNCW on the map when it's come to men's soccer. NCAA tournament appearance 2 seasons ago. Maybe not got exactly what you wanted this past year, but always a threat in the Colonial Athletic Association, a very tough conference when it comes to NCAA Division I men's soccer. Right in the middle kind of your spring training, I guess you can say, as you get an early look at some of the newcomers, some of the young guys that may not and got too many minutes last season, and it'll culminate on the 16th of this month in April with Harry's game that will benefit Top Soccer, and maybe just talk a little bit more about what that game means to Coach Haney. Obviously, the game donning the name of his son Harry, who was diagnosed with Down syndrome, and now he's 4 years old already, and enjoying the beautiful game himself.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys plugging that one in, and appreciate Chris coming up and chiming in about Harry's game, because it is a wonderful event, and it's an event that we're extremely proud of, and we're thankful to be able to host at UNCW every year. It's our last spring game of each season that we started 4 years ago in honor of Coach Haney's son Harry, who was born with Down syndrome, and each year we have this game, and it's for fundraising efforts for Top Soccer and Special Olympics as well. And it's a wonderful event. We've been able to raise thousands and thousands of dollars for those organizations over the last 4 years with the event, and we host a wonderful opponent each year. We've had NC State, we've had Wake Forest, this year we have Duke, we've had UNC Chapel Hill. So we bring in some top quality opposition, and usually it's a very exciting game. There's been a lot of goals in the past several contests, so big crowds, big event, really nice occasion, and we appreciate the support from the community and people that come from out of town for that event. It really means a lot. It's special not just to Coach Haney, but to our team and to our school, and we look forward to having another great turnout on April 16th for sure.
And that game will be played again Saturday, April 16th on the UNC Wilmington campus, as they will take on the Duke Blue Devils. A lot of soccer that weekend. On Sunday, April 17th, that will be our next broadcast, as Justin Moose is attended to after going down. Looked like he may have cut himself in the face somewhere, as he's getting patched up by the head trainer, hoping to get back on the pitch as soon as possible. We've got some subs warming up, and it looks like we could see a potential substitution, which would be the first of the evening, as it looks like we are at 57 minutes. We hope if they synced up that time on the field to the time on the scoreboard here. It'll be a great soccer weekend here in a couple of weeks. And I'll have to get my studying in between then as we take on FC Montreal and the tongue twisters that I'll have to decipher between when the club from north of the border gets here. A lot of names, Zach. You're lucky that you won't be here for that game.
I hate that for Justin Moose. He's had a really good game tonight. He's been extremely productive off the right side. He's made some good attacking runs, and some of the better moments and most threatening moments that the Wilmington Hammerheads have had are from attacking runs from his side, penetrating balls coming from the central midfield and either out to in runs or just slipping in between the left back and the center back. So shame to see him have to go off early if that is the case, but good sign for Coach Mark Briggs that he's got Justin Moose healthy and playing very well, and we can only hope that it's not a serious situation that's allowed him to come off tonight and can get him back for the next game.
And for now, still just 10 on the pitch for Wilmington Hammerheads FC, as Moose is still being attended to, trying to get that blood from, trying to get it all tied up. He's going to have to change his kit. As you can see him on the far side. Sub is ready to go, but it looks like Moose will return with a bandage around his forehead. And he is back out on the pitch.
Good to see. Good sign for him and for the Hammerheads as well. He's had a good game so far.
Justin Moose, quite an entrepreneur as well. Started or he's building his own little sports app that you can get on your iPhone or mobile device. He contacted me, but I'm awful at returning phone calls and emails as a local reporter who also covers 15 different high schools, UNC Wilmington, Cape Fear Community College, in addition to doing some broadcast work with Coastal Carolina University. So I'm going to have to apologize to him for never returning his call and email, and he was pretty persistent about that too. So I'll have to make it up to him at the watering hole one of these days when he's got an off day. As we look ahead to that FC Montreal match, last time they were in Wilmington towards the end of last season, had to take a flight to Boston the next day, and they were on my flight the next morning, and I was trying to shoot the breeze with them, and it was tough trying to even talk to them and communicate because of the language barrier with some of them, but I wanted to just get their names correct. That was my big thing. You know, you're sitting here, you want to do it the right way, and some of the teams do not have, communications people that come with them, so talking with the personnel from Richmond earlier, he is also struggling with the language barrier on some of his players to get their correct pronunciations on the team. So obviously a challenge for all of us here in the early portion of this 2016 season.
There's a lot of diversity in the league, Joe. I think there's quite a few international players, whether they came over to play soccer in college here in the States, Division 1, 2, 3, NAIA, junior college, and then some that have come straight over, whether it be out of high school or at an early age. And I think you're seeing so many different pathways into this league, and that kind of variety and in terms of different backgrounds and upbringings through the game, I think it creates a nice flavor within the league, so that it's a lot of different styles, a lot of different individual styles, but also team to team you see a lot of different styles of play as well. So I think it all adds to the strength of the league.
And it just shows you, what these organizations are putting into this league, as it's grown now over the last couple of seasons to 2 conferences.
Well, the Wilmington Hammerheads are a really good example of that, where so much of the offseason recruitment for Coach Mark Briggs was not just going and finding players coming straight out of college. He's done that with Michael Meekum from UNCW, as we mentioned before, Mile Krabaz from Maryland, and a couple others. But he's also gone across the globe and found players from all over leagues in India with Bruno Peroni, the center back, and Josue, unfortunately, picked up an injury against Orlando City, but a talented left winger originally from Spain, playing with Bruno on the same team in India. And Faraday's played in France, and they've had players that have come from all different types of situations, and they can bring a lot of experience and know-how to this team no matter what league they've experienced, and I think that's a wonderful thing. And also have some guys on the bench that aren't playing tonight. Another player for the Wilmington Hammerheads, Matthew Barnes-Homer, journeyman, 30-year-old player from England who's played in quite a few leagues there, all the way from non-league up to the championship. So it's become a big part of the recruiting strategy these days for these USL coaches.
A floater in from Imora caught the head of Hugh Roberts, but it's John Smits holding the back line strong. The end line strong for Wilmington comes up with a save. As it was well defended, that free kick sent in by Imora is well positioned. John Smits, another experienced goalkeeper. Wilmington has had plenty throughout the history, 20-year history of this organization. Hard to believe that this club has been around for 2 decades. It's been one of the long-standing organizations in the United Soccer League. Both teams here on the pitch tonight, Richmond and Wilmington. Another header sent in, this one off the head of Isley. Did I get that right? Third time's a charm. Another one of these good chances here for Richmond. 63rd minute of action.
Isley's always a threat, and it might not show up in terms of the statistics. He always chips in goals every year that he's been in the league, and even back to his days at Penn State, I believe it was. But he's a player that does so much more than scores goals and assists goals. Obviously, that's your main priority, to be productive as a center forward. But as you can see tonight, he's so physical, and he's such a handful in terms of the way that he posts up on center backs, and he challenges everything in the air. He presses. He's a target for him to play for knockdown. So he really does lead the line well, and I think you're seeing 2 center forwards tonight that have done a good job of that and play the game in a really physical manner as far as forwards go. But I think the center backs of both clubs have really stood up to the test and limited the opportunities in terms of playing off the front man. So it's been impressive. And just going back to John Smits there, Joe, what a fantastic pickup for the Wilmington Hammerheads in terms of their off-season recruiting, because he was the NASL goalkeeper 2 years ago, I believe, and that kind of player with that kind of experience to come in and immediately bolster your defensive efforts, I think that speaks volumes of Coach Briggs and his staff, and such a high degree of difficulty in terms of building this squad, but they got it right there for sure.
That was Callahan off the free kick. Smits coming off his line. Now a foul called on Braden Troyer, with Q Lawal trying to push the tempo for Wilmington.
He's had to battle tonight, Joe. He's really had a difficult time with these 2 center backs, Roberts and Yambi, and then Braden Troyer, the left back, plays similar to a center back. He played center back in college primarily for South Carolina, and he's had a difficult time up there, Q, but he's really stood up to it, and he's been awfully tough, and he hasn't gotten discouraged. He's drawn some fouls. He's had some fouls that weren't called that he believed were, and he's just kept plugging away. And I think an impressive effort tonight, even though maybe hasn't been involved in too many clear-cut attacks, but I think he's definitely played a good role for the Wilmington Hammerheads.
You can follow the Wilmington Hammerheads on Twitter at WILM Hammerheads. You can also follow Richmond via social media at Richmond Kickers. As both clubs continue to brand themselves through social media, as we all try to brand ourselves through social media, especially as low-lying sports broadcasters here in the booth. I'm not going to give myself a shameless plug, though. I'm not that desperate for followers, and having done this now for a couple of seasons, particularly those folks out in Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte Independence fans, they were very touchy with myself and I forget, Richard Broad was in here, you know Richard, and he's very theatrical and very informative with his content, and they were getting on us pretty badly on Twitter last season, so I'm going to hold off on my Twitter handle just yet. Justin Moose all bandaged up and ready to go, slides one ahead to Tom Parrott. The cross on a couple of hops, scooped up by Ryan Taylor. As you've seen Parrott now come from the back line forward here over the last couple of runs for Wilmington on this near side flank.
Yeah, they haven't gotten the fullbacks too involved in terms of higher up the field, Joe, but you can see Tom starting to make some runs forward. Faraday's gotten forward on a couple of occasions. He's playing on his weaker foot on the left side, Faraday is. He's usually a right back, but the injury to Peebo Dewey before the away opener at Orlando City has caused them to reshuffle the back line a little bit. Obviously, Michael Meekum getting his first start tonight with Shawnee Edwards picking up an injury against Orlando City. So even more credit due to the coaching staff and the players for stepping up and making some of these positions their own, even though it might be a position that they're not primarily comfortable with or that they haven't played at this level. So I think it's a lot of credits due for the coaching staff for preparing these players, getting them mentally and physically ready to play, and then these guys standing up to the test tonight.
It's Udai Imora here on the near side with the left foot. Turned away, Moose will play. And they're able to get it out of the danger zone there. But we're going to have a caution issued to Tom Parrott, who's donning some facial hair here in the 2016 home opener. Approaching the 70th minute, Parrott issued the caution. Second yellow card to the Wilmington side tonight. Bruno Peroni, excuse me.
Not much of a long throw there by Yisley, but if he can get it deep enough, then they certainly have the targets with the two center backs coming all the way up to really cause some problems in the area for the Wilmington Hammerheads.
Hammerheads up the task, the one-timer off the foot of Lucas Paulini, well above the crossbar. Wilmington able to weather a little flurry here for the kickers with about 20 minutes to go here in the match. We remain scoreless as the Port City firm try to cheer on their home side in this home opener for Wilmington Hammerheads FC. 20th season of existence, this organization has seen its ups and downs, has brought home the USL Cup one time. A lot of local flavor has been within the organization on the field. We said goodbye to Cody Arnault last year, homegrown player. A number of others have gone on to different parts of their career, and it's a quick little combination there. It was Yisley who was the last to touch. Smits had to go to the ground. He's able to gobble it up there off his left foot.
You can tell Coach Briggs isn't happy about that. He's having a word with the fourth official. Richmond took a quick free kick, and it looked like it could have been about 10 yards ahead of where the foul took place, and it caught the Hammerheads a tad bit asleep, but disorganized. They weren't able to react to it, and ultimately Richmond was able to create a decent opportunity from it.
The wall will play back to Tom Parrott. A little floating pass went intended for the wall, turned away by Yambi. Amora. Nifty move there and a pass off the foot of Owusu Sikiera. A substitution for Richmond coming out of the second half. Coming into the second half. He wears number 4.
The tempo of the game's just died down a slight bit here, Joe. The first 10 minutes, it looked like both teams were going to come out with a renewed energy and we're going to try to press a bit higher up the field and maybe get a little bit aggressive in terms of a higher block, and now things after the first 10 minutes, it's come back down to a little bit cagier in terms of players not want to make mistakes, both teams not want to take any unnecessary risk in terms of pushing numbers forward. Most of the attacking play has been on the counter, 2, 3, 4 players joining in quick transitions, and I think as the game wears on, that one mistake might be the difference here if it's going to be anything but a draw.
Meekum looking for Q Lawal. The pass sent towards the sideline here, and it'll turn into a Richmond throw-in. Sakir with the long ball across field to Samuel Osanti. They try to reverse the field here and play on that far end. They've enjoyed a little success in this second half on that far side.
Looks like Coach Briggs is preparing a couple subs here. As we talked about, the sting has come out of the game a little bit in the last 10-15 minutes, and I'm sure he wants to inject some pace, some tempo into the game, and it looks like Bryce Taylor is going to be one of the guys to make his way, and he'll certainly add some pace. A lot of Wilmington Hammerheads fans will remember him from a few seasons back. Bryce is a wide player, very direct, very pacey, so he can offer something a little bit different than Jeff Mashaw and Justin Moose, and I'm sure they're looking for that one break that can potentially result in a good opportunity and potentially the game-winning goal.
Whistle there on William Yambi as he and Q Lawal have been battling back and forth throughout much of the evening, and this time Lawal is the beneficiary of the whistle. And we will have 2 substitutions, it looks like, for Wilmington. Justin Moose will go off. They're getting taped up, and Wilmington will go to the bench. Jeff Meshad also off.
Looks like Kyle Parker is going to be the other one coming on. Kyle Parker, a rookie from UNC Charlotte. We know him very well from UNCW, games against him, and it looks like he'll probably be deployed wide. He's typically a player that plays underneath the center forward.
This ball sent in. Oh, nearly headed in by, it's like,
I think it was Yaisley.
Yaisley.
That's a fantastic delivery from Mile Corbaz. I know we've talked about it quite a bit in the broadcast, but his delivery is spot on. He puts it into a great area, and it's just crying out for somebody to attack. And even if they don't, you can tell it's such a difficult one for defenders to deal with because it's coming in with such pace and such whip on it.
Corbaz again with the corner to the far post. Nobody home, punched away by Ryan Taylor. There's nobody in position. Another great ball sent in by Corbaz. Just nobody in position there to put the finishing touches on Wilmington's corner kick.
We'll see here if Bryce Taylor and Kyle Parker can bring a little bit of a spark to the game, and if there are players that can join in and keep Q from getting isolated and offer some attacking runs in behind. I think Bryce will offer some service from the right side. He likes to push it ahead and get crosses into the box. And Kyle Parker, he's small in stature, but he's actually excellent in the air. He's a good finisher, so they'll want to get him in on the back post as hopefully Bryce gets around the corners, and then Q is looking to get into the near post, and Kyle Parker can follow suit on the back post.
Logan Miller taken down. And Peroni, looks like, well, it might be Smits who delivers the free kick. We're going to get Wilmington forward here, trying to create a scoring opportunity for the Hammerheads. 76th minute of action, we think.
It's been a lot of fouls in the game, Joe. It's been a little bit choppy, but both teams are up for it. They're playing very physical, and I think that both teams have settled into this sort of medium block to low block shape, and I think they're happy to keep the game in front of them. You know, it's early in the season. Every point is valuable, and you want to get off to a good start and get some points on the board. So as the game has gone on, although they've tried to press at times, you can tell that neither team wants to make a big mistake.
Now the wall gets brought down. No whistle on the play, but you saw an obvious stiff arm there on the wall as it all sparked up because of the efforts of Bryce Taylor. Sent one into Q, and Q was well defended there, but he looked like he was one touch away from putting a strike on that ball. Instead was brought down, and that ball mishandled by Smith, and it's going to lead up to a Richmond corner kick, so a little tough luck there. Wilmington not able to get the whistle here on the far end, and then on the counter, the Kickers will now have a corner kick.
Well, we just mentioned that this game might be decided by a mistake because it's been a little cagey, and both teams have been happy to keep the game in front of them and primarily defend in terms of a medium block, not commit too many numbers forward. And there you have it there. Bryce Taylor puts in a ball that's typically easily dealt with by this fantastic Richmond Kickers back line, but one missed touch, one missed clearance, and all of a sudden it falls for Q, gets on the end of it, and questionable in terms of whether it was a penalty. I think there was an arm out there, but would have been a harsh call, I think, at this stage in the game for the referee to make it. And then right on the other end, Smits takes a touch to try to set himself up to clear it out, but ends up having to have a panicky clearance out for a corner.
This one turned away by Tom Parrott. Latest sub, Liam Miller, off. And it looks like it's Zev Tablib, who has come on, number 20 for Wilmington, third substitution of the night. It's Udai Imora looking to provide a spark for Richmond. Lucas Paulini playing to the far side. Well defended by Wilmington, cleared away by Peroni.
So it looks like Zev's going to come into that holding midfielder role, and it's going to push on Mael and Logan Miller just slightly higher in this 4-3-3 shape that they've stuck with throughout this game. And Zev, I thought, did a fantastic job against Orlando City coming on. I believe it was the last 15-20 minutes, and really did a nice job of bringing energy to the midfield and continuing to close players down and help see it through for the Wilmington Hammerheads. He's a smaller player in stature, but he's strong, and he's a scrappy player, and he gets around the pitch well. And I think he's going to bring some much-needed energy here with the last 10 or 15 minutes to go in this game.
Reversing course, Richmond. Braden Troyer has it turned away. It was Bryce Taylor again on the end of it. Looking for the call was Corbos. Taylor sends it into the wall. Battling, juggling for position. Nice little move there. The wall trying to get around, and play continues. So the wall definitely exuding plenty of energy here, testing that back line against Richmond. And the Kickers have been stout, very physical in their play.
Yeah, Joe, it was a really good advantage played by the referee to allow Bryce Taylor to continue down the right side as Mike Callahan picks up the yellow card after the fact. He made a tactical foul in the middle of the park, but the ball would still be able to play it out to Bryce Taylor. Puts it in another early service to test Yambi and see if he's getting just a little bit, if the nerves are getting to him just a little bit here in the closing stages of the game. And sure enough, it's a poor clearance on the header. Q gets position, he battles, and went for a very creative turn around Yambi, and it just got tied up, and it was hard to tell if he was dragged down or if they were both pulling one another in terms of the jerseys and holding on. And really difficult call for the referee to make, but I think that one looked a little bit more suspect than the one before, because it did seem like Q had the best of him, and then Yambi had to reach back to really have a chance to keep him from going straight to goal.
This past sequence, it was Tom Parrott who was pushing the envelope for Wilmington. Coming up from that back line once again, able to apply a little pressure on Richmond. Peroni will play to the far side. We'll look for the runner. Nothing doing as Roberts clears away, but possession will stay with Wilmington.
The Hammerheads looking there to go a little bit more direct, as Richmond did a couple times earlier in the half, where I mentioned that they put 4 across the front line, and they had both wingers press onto the outside backs, and they're attacking mid. In the case of Richmond kickers, Amura, and then in that case of the Wilmington Hammerheads, Logan Miller stepped up almost as an auxiliary striker, and you can see it again here where they're pressing 4 up and really making the Richmond kickers have to defend 1v1 and seeing if with a direct ball and a knockdown they can create some sort of opportunity for an up, back, and through, or a combination coming from the seconds off the direct ball straight up to Q's head.
Imora will play with some space here across midfield for Richmond in red. But a poor touch there. And Wilmington will now counter. Tom Parrott looking for the ball on the near side to cue the wall. Play will continue with a throw-in for the Hammerheads. And another sub. And we'll keep a stop. Hold a hold before the throw-in.
Starting to get stretched a little bit. Both the Wilmington Hammerheads and the Richmond kickers back 4. They don't want to give up any space behind at this point. They don't want one ball to beat them over top and undo all the work that they've done to keep the clean sheet. So both teams playing with their back 4 and one true holding mid, but they're taking some chances pressing on some of those midfielders and seeing if they can just catch the opposing back 4 with a knockdown and potentially an opportunity off of that. But so far, they've done enough to clean things up and not cause any real clear-cut opportunities. Only some half chances here and there and some shouts for penalties on the part of the Wilmington Hammerheads.
Latest substitution for Richmond. Samuel Asante will go off. Number 10, Sonny Johnny will enter the match for the first time for you Wilmington fans. A familiar face, spending last season here in Wilmington, as I finally learned how to pronounce his name. Second sub of the night for Richmond as they went to the bench to begin the second half with Owusu Sekieri. The players starting to feel the pressure as the drama starts to build here in the final 5 minutes, and a great opportunity here for Wilmington as the Walls able to draw the caution and the card. We've seen plenty of them tonight. The referee will go back to his pocket. This time,
well, it looks like the Richmond kickers have made similar substitution to the Wilmington Hammerheads with a couple of attacking players to play in the wide areas. They've pushed Amura out to the left. They've brought Sonny Jane onto the right, who, as we know, Wilmington Hammerheads fans know from last year, he's a very dangerous player, very quick on the dribble, and he's left-footed, so he'll look to cut it inside from the right. And then they've brought in Owusu to play that attacking mid-role. So some attacking changes to try to bring some energy and a spark to the Richmond kickers now.
And the free kick sent in. Nobody there. Off the foot of number 8, Mile Corbos, who has taken a majority of these set pieces this evening, with about 5-6 minutes to go here in tonight's match.
Both teams have gotten through a lot of work tonight defensively. There hasn't been a lot of sustained possession with either team, and as we know, that's always going to be difficult in the Legion Stadium turf and the dimensions of this field. But it's been a very solid defensive effort on the part of both teams. I think even at times where they have maybe played a lower or medium block, I think they've done well to always close down and always make sure there's pressure on the ball. And both teams have been tough and physical, and you can tell it's starting to take the toll a little bit. They're starting to take some chances in terms of pushing numbers forward, but ultimately it's direct passes like this up to Yisley, and then on the opposite end up to Qudis Lawal that are just hoping for one breakthrough, one big mistake that can maybe mean the difference in this game.
It's Tob Lieb getting his first couple of touches in the night. It's quickly played out to Sosa. Hammerheads will have the throw-in on the far side. Couple more subs entering the match. 2 for Richmond, 1 for Wilmington. Wilmington limited in their bench tonight due to some injuries.
Looks like a straight swap Delicott for Yaisley up front. Another big target, an even bigger target player than Yaisley, who's about 6'2", and 6'1", 6'2", 170, and then you have Matthew Delicott coming in at 6'3", 190, and anybody who's been following the USL for years will know Delicott very well. He's not the paciest player, he's not the quickest, but he's a target man of the highest order in this league. He's very effective. He's going to win everything in the air, and he's going to post up and make life difficult for the center backs of the Hammerheads.
For Wilmington, cue the wall will go off. It'll be Matthew Barnes-Homer entering the contest for the Hammerheads. A beautiful play right here on the near side. Moving up the pitch, it's Bryce Taylor. We've called his name several times here in just the last few minutes, coming as a sub for Coach Briggs in this second half. Trying to produce something here in the final stages of tonight's contest as Corbos has it taken away by Sicchieri. It'll be a Wilmington Hammerheads throw-in.
Sloppy passing from the Richmond Kickers, looking to find Braden Troyer as an outlet, the left side, the left back, and Bryce Taylor's done a fantastic job of reading those passes and making a couple key interceptions to start the break for the Hammerheads.
Barnes-Homer with positioning and the strike, left-footed boot. High off the mark. Wilmington with just a little life here in the last few minutes of tonight's contest. And Matthew Barnes-Homer set that one up on a tee. A little extra juice there.
Well, it's interesting because the game has played out very similarly for both teams in terms of the substitutions and the tactical adjustments that each team is looking at. And right after Richmond Kickers bring on Matthew Delicott for that target, that presence up front, as the game's gotten increasingly more direct, Mark Briggs counters with a move of his own and to bring on Matthew Barnes-Homer, who's 6 foot and a wide body target player who's known to be very good in the air. So I think both teams have recognized that this game's going to come from direct play and a knockdown or a set piece chance to potentially grab the goal.
Now it's Richmond trying to counter. They'll do so with the ball sent in across frame. Play continues here on the near side, and the ball did go out of play, so it'll be a goal kick for Wilmington. The ball here looking to come in quickly. 2 minutes of extra time as the fourth official signals 2 minutes. Jordan Davis.
Looks like the Richmond Kickers have right after putting on Fred Owusu-Sakiri as the attacking midfielder, they've pushed him one back and actually put Anthony Grant in that spot ahead, just that withdrawn striker role under Delicott. So another slight adjustment tactically by the Richmond Kickers to bring some different personnel on the field. And at this point, this early in the season, Joe, it's really about fresh legs, not only getting through the game and making sure you have enough energy to continue closing space down and not giving anything easy by just simply wearing down, but also to bring on a couple attacking players that can get through that work, but also just potentially finding that one moment where they have the legs to get in behind or to get on the end of a cross. So similar, I would say similar looks by each team in terms of bringing on wingers and one extra attacking player, but we'll see if it can break the deadlock here with those moves.
This won't be the last time these two sides meet throughout the 2016 season. They will face each other again in Richmond on Saturday, May 7th. Another opportunity there. The crowd brought to their feet one last time tonight. They will also wrap up the regular season on September 23rd. Final whistle. We've reached the end of tonight's match. No score between Wilmington Hammerheads FC and the Richmond Kickers. Well-played contest, early season battle between two familiar foes, no matter whether or not the names on the back of the jersey have changed throughout the course of the last couple of years, moving into 2016. Anytime these two clubs meet, you know it's going to be a battle, and we saw that tonight.
We did, Joe, and I'm sure that Coach Briggs and the staff and the players would have wanted to put on a performance that would have included some goals for this home crowd and in the first game of the season to build some excitement in that regard for the casual fan. But make no mistake, he's going to be absolutely thrilled about this result. 4 points in 2 games to start the season after what was a very difficult season last year, and points were hard to come by. I can assure you that he's going to be thrilled with this result against a very, very good team. Richmond Kickers, solid, consistent, always towards the top. And coming away, he would have taken 4 points in 2 games. He would have taken the clean sheet, especially considering some of the injuries that they've faced, where they're having to play Faraday Salsa out of his comfort zone at the left back spot. They've brought on Michael Meekum, a rookie, to play center back, new face in Bruno Peroni, and then bringing on the old veteran Tom Parrott to add to the back four. And so a lot of changes and a lot of shakeup from the first game to the second game, really, and then a couple injuries before the season. But overall, he'll be thrilled with the clean sheet, thrilled with the performance tonight as far as the result goes.
Both teams, as Zach said, earned 1 point tonight. They both improved to 1-0-1 in the early stages of this 2016 slate. Next up for Wilmington Hammerheads FC, a trip down Highway 17 for a date with Charleston Battery. It'll be a 7:30 kickoff from Blackbaud Stadium on Saturday, April 9th. Richmond will return home for a 5 o'clock kickoff on April 9th, a Saturday contest against the Rochester Rhinos. So as both teams continue this early season surge, it's Wilmington and Richmond 0-0 here at Legion Stadium, the 2016 opener for Wilmington Hammerheads FC, as their 20th anniversary season is well underway here in 2016. Zach, it's always a pleasure, man. Thanks for filling in. I know you'll be here throughout the course of the season. Good luck the rest of your spring schedule over at UNC Wilmington, and we'll catch up hopefully in a couple of weeks.
Thank you very much, Joe. It's been a pleasure.
Hope you've enjoyed the broadcast here on YouTube. Don't forget, follow the Wilmington Hammerheads on Twitter at WILM Hammerheads. We'll say goodbye here from Legion Stadium alongside Zach Haynes. I'm Joe Katz. Tune in to our next home broadcast. That will be on Sunday, April 17th, when your Wilmington side takes on FC Montreal. It's a rare 3 o'clock kickoff on Sunday, April 17th. Everyone have a great night, and we'll talk to you next time.